Welcome to Be On It, episode 14.
Hey Jessica, what's going on in the Beehive today?
Hi, Debbie. I was thinking about my upcoming travel plans and how I always enjoy curating travel itineraries for my family. I personally really enjoy building an itinerary that's flexible, and how I go about curating and creating the itinerary is first we come up with a date. And then because we're big foodies in our home, I start researching food places that we might want to eat at. And so I use a lot of Instagram, Eater, and Eater you can do Eater within the United States, whatever state you're going to. And so that will kind of give you a list of people that have curated the best restaurants there. And so I've used that a lot. And then recently I've used a lot of Reddit. And then I will put in looking for really good restaurants locals go to, not where tourists go to. And then here's the state that I'm going to. Or the country that I'm going to. And people will give me a long list of places and why they thought it was good. And so I like to go where the non-tourist people go. And just try what the locals might try and discover some new foods that, we may not have eaten before. And I like to expose, when the kids were little, I like to expose them to different varieties of food. And so as adults, they're more exposed to that and they enjoy eating a variety of different things. And so that's a big thing that I do with our planning, depending on where we're going. And then I start to put a package together. We want to get a hotel. Do we need a car? With hotels, we can get 2 queen beds. If it's my husband and I, we usually get a queen or a king. For both of us, actually, it's really about comfort. So that's kind of how we gauge our hotel. We've stayed at nicer hotels. We've stayed at moderate hotels. Our upcoming trip is my husband and I are going to New York because my son is in a play. He's a lead in a play for his college senior year. We're going for 5 days in October. So this time it's really fun because we have already done the touristy things. So we kind of get to curate our trip based off of seeing our son in his play, seeing some plays on Broadway, and meeting up with some friends of ours that the grandfather of my daughter's friend works on the set of SVU. So he might get us on set. It's kind of a loose, flexible schedule this time around. So we've got food places that we're going to go visit. It's kind of more of a what the locals do kind of trip. It'll be fun.
How many is this? Is this your third time going, or how many?
This is my third time in New York.
Okay.
My second time with my husband and I.
So, and you're going in the fall. Have you traveled in the fall before?
The first time I went to New York, I went in September.
Okay, so that was sort of in the fall, right?
It's a beautiful time of year. It was like into September. It was my
Oh, good.
40th birthday. The Pope was going to be there, so the city was just alive with a lot of things going on because of the Pope going to be coming through
Yeah,
New York. And so, yeah, I'd never been, so I did all the touristy things.
yeah. Such a good time to go is the fall. It's not a long amount of time. How are you doing this? So you've got looked into the airfare. So you've booked your airline tickets, and your lodging. It sounds like, right?
Yeah, because through work I get a discount. I went through Expedia. That ended up being the better deal than Costco, which at times Costco can sometimes be the better deal depending on where you're going. So knowing that we had the dates, I kind of looked at the package deals. We didn't need a car. We're going to take subway and train. We're staying Midtown. It's very walkable and very hop on the subway. We know we want to get there late afternoon, early evening, and then we want to leave late afternoon, later evening. So and so I just started watching when we found out the date that my son was going to be in the play. I just started watching package deals and the prices and stuff, and then when it went down a little bit, I purchased it. And then I knew the hotel needed to be comfortable, and I know that in New York, when you stay in Midtown, you don't want to be too close to the bottom floors. It's really loud and noisy with traffic.
Oh.
So I made sure I splurged a little bit on that and made sure we had a city view, because how pretty is it to be a little higher up and, look at the views of New York. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my thought process. And I thought, well, this is kind of a treat for my husband and I. We had our, summer birthdays. Our anniversary was in August. So this just kind of was like, how I curated this particular trip and thought of the hotel.
How far up are you?
I don't know how high. It's a boutique hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out I ended up picking the best hotel because it's across the street from where my son's apartment is. I didn't know that at the time. I kind of knew where his address was, and I was just trying to pick something that was close to him so we could hang out whenever he was available based off of his schedule and still like be close to all the things. So that ended up working out really well. And I know that this boutique hotel has a rooftop, but it's not as tall as what you would normally get in like a high rise.
Okay.
I think it's maybe no more than 20 floors, maybe.
Oh.
So not super, super high, but high enough where we're not going to be hearing the street noise and stuff.
That's a good point. Because when I went to New York City, I went earlier this year in, I think it was March is when I went. I booked us a hotel. It was almost like an apartment style hotel, and it wasn't the best decision because when you're traveling and busy in a busy city like New York City, you want to come back to a hotel that's comfortable, and it wasn't comfortable.
Oh,
It was economical, but it wasn't comfortable. The view was not good. I think the view outside of our window was seeing another building, So not a good view. And then the beds weren't comfortable. So obviously, if you've been there before, you'll know how comfortable it is. But the comfortability factor, are you just kind of basing off of reviews then?
so I had to read a lot of reviews, and you have to kind of get in there and get into the nitty gritty of all the reviews, and you hear enough reviews and enough times saying that this is pretty good and the ratings are good because
Yeah.
Expedia does a really good job of showing you ratings.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of search through all the paid reviews and get to the nitty gritty of likes and dislikes. And so I'll have to report back, but I think that the beds are comfortable from what I gather.
Yeah.
Visually, it's kind of a more laid back boutique hotel. It's centered to everything that I want it to be centered to. And the price was good. Comparatively to the other hotels, the price was excellent. Now, could we have stayed in something cheaper? Sure, but we're going to get the noise. We're going to get beds that aren't necessarily comfortable. And I have to be able to sleep.
Yeah.
And so that's a key number one. Like my family has to be able to sleep when we're going on trips. You have to be comfortable. And honestly, in the past, I usually, if I can, we go for Hampton Inns. They've been really consistently good. The beds are comfortable. Or Comfort Inns. They've been pretty good, especially when you're traveling with kiddos. I'm trying this one out to see the price was really good. And then when we go back, when my son graduates in May, if we really like this hotel, we now then could make sure that, we reserve it again. And then maybe my in-laws want to stay there as well.
So I feel like I'm hearing you say that you are prioritizing comfortability.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then proximity, I mean, you found out later, but proximity was also a big factor because you wanted something central to the places that you were going to be at. So you chose Midtown,
Correct.
Manhattan. And I think you mentioned cleanliness. I feel like you've mentioned like the layout.
The layout and cleanliness is a big deal because, as you know, in
layout,
New
yeah.
York, every room is not the same, and everything could be really compact, which is fine if it's just my husband and I. But I thought, you know what, I need a little bit of movement, and I don't want you can get some fancy hotels that have the sinks outside of the bathroom, and I'm just not really into that because I do get up earlier than my other family members. I want to get ready, and I don't want to be shining a bright light on them. It makes me feel bad. Let them sleep a little bit longer while I get ready. And so those are things I look for.
And then you also mentioned, which I didn't really think about, but you mentioned the noise. Like you want to find a place that promotes rest and sleep and relaxation, hopefully.
That's very important. I'm a very visual person, so I like a view. Now, have I stayed in hotels that don't have views? Of course, because the price is good. That's what you do. Especially when you're doing car trips or Disneyland, you'll stay at a good neighbor hotel and it's clean and it hits all the marks and has 2 queen beds and fits the kids, and that's all that matters. Those are economy hotels, which I've stayed at too. and they're perfectly fine. The beds might not be, what I've learned is the beds aren't always the most comfortable, but you can always go grab a 2-inch foam from the store. Usually, when you're traveling, you can always toss it when you're done, and it makes the bed more comfortable. So those are tips and tricks that I've done if we're going to be staying for more than, a few days.
And so you're not taking a blanket or a pillow or anything, right?
Yeah, when we're flying, I don't bring a pillow. And then when we do car trips, I usually bring my pillow because, a good sleep's really important.
Yeah.
So yeah, it better be comfy, else I'm going to be going to buy a pillow for sure.
It's funny. I was watching this show, and I won't name the show, but she was packing, and she packed her pillowcase. She packed a pillowcase with a dryer sheet in her suitcase, and the pillowcase can serve as a little bag too to
Yeah,
store
it's
things.
smart.
But then you can use it to replace the pillowcase at your hotel, so it kind of feels homey.
Not only that, sometimes I sleep with a silk pillowcase or a silkier pillowcase so my hair doesn't frizz because I have naturally wavy hair.
Oh.
And when you sleep on jersey cotton or whatever, I happen to have sheets that aren't jersey cotton, they're a little bit more silkier.
Yeah.
When I'm not washing my hair every day, I don't want the frizz.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I will travel with my silk pillowcase and change it out too. I've done that in the past.
That's so smart. I've never thought about that. It's good that you're going through the reviews. I will say something really funny. When we went to a hotel, when we were traveling to California, we looked at all the reviews, and it's so funny because you have to kind of filter through the reviews. And I think it was they were the reviewer gave the hotel close to 10.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a high.
Almost 10 out of 10 for points. But then the commentary was, it smells like a wet towel, but I'll come here again. So it's I mean, the number rating is important too, but then you have to kind of go through the commentary and see what it is that they're complaining about or raving about
Exactly.
or raving about,
I mean, I've come across where I almost chose a hotel because it was hitting all the marks. And then I came across a review saying that they were doing construction and they had scaffolding. And I said, oh, don't want that outside my bedroom window when we're trying to sleep.
I know, right?
That's noisy and not good. So, yeah, little things that, some people don't care. They'll just sleep wherever. Well, I'm not a good sleeper anyway. So it's just, I care about comfort. I care about cleanliness. It can be cheap and clean. I don't care. I can always go grab something to make the bed more comfortable. I can grab a new pillow.
Here's another thing too, especially if you go to an urban area like New York City. I would choose a place that has 24-hour desks, like somebody at the desk 24 hours a day.
Yes, that's important.
Not,
Or at least you can call them and they'll come out.
yeah, or they're on site and they can come and help you.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's important because, as you know, New York is a city of, it is live and going until all hours of the night. There's 24-hour, cafes and restaurants. So, yeah, you want to be able to, get a taxi called if you're, not wanting to take a subway that late at night, which I wouldn't recommend. So for me, because we were seeing plays and we also have to take the railroad, like the LIRR. So I knew that when we see my son's play, it needed to be earlier in the day so we weren't traveling later at night. I'm always thinking about safety.
Oh, safety is big.
And,
Yeah.
safety in a big city is always key. If you're going to be out late, making sure there's a lot of lighting and just making sure that you're not carrying things with you that look like they're valuable. Just tips and tricks that you don't want to get mugged. You just want to be aware of your surroundings. And as a woman, I'm always, and a woman with kids traveling to somewhere, I'm always on swivel. I'm always making
That's
sure
good.
that my environments, that we're safe and my husband does the same thing too. We kind of keep our family, the two kids when they were little, we'd keep them in the middle. I'd be in the back, he'd be in the front, and we were that's just how we rolled. We're just always on the lookout and
Yeah.
just aware of our surroundings, especially when you're doing car trips
Yeah.
and you're driving in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah. That's
Rest
scary.
stops,
Ooh.
like we go together. And I don't care if they're, we all go together. My husband's, he steps into the bathroom to make sure there's nobody in there. And he announces it. And then we go and he stands outside, especially if it's the middle of the night.
Exactly.
So we, just using those kind of tips to protect yourself and be aware. And God forbid anything should happen, at least you're using safety precautions.
Definitely have the situational awareness. Safety is really crucial too, because I'm planning a trip to Italy. It was a big factor in choosing one area versus another area because we just wanted to be really careful and wanted to be safe because it's our first time there. We don't want to be caught in a risky sus place. And another thing too, it's so funny when we went to New York City, we had a key, like an actual key to get into our little apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's so
because it was like a little apartment
different.
situation.
Yeah.
So of course it was different. So I remember one time we went up to the room and my son opened the door, and we just went right inside. And then we were tired and stuff, so we just took a shower and did whatever, and rested for the night. And then we woke up the next day, and I was like, "But where's the apartment key?" And we couldn't find it. And we opened the door, and it was in the lock.
Oh,
I
no. You guys
know.
were
That was
exhausted.
good thing nobody opened our door,
Yeah.
but it literally was the key was in the lock all night long, and we were inside just without a thought in the world about anything.
I'm glad you guys were okay. My goodness. But you know what? It's human. It's so, like, we do that. We're exhausted. So, yeah, just being aware of those sort of things, it's like anywhere you travel, you have to be aware. It doesn't matter where you travel these days. You just have, unfortunately, there's things that happen that are unfortunate. And tips and tricks for the subway. People are scared of the subways. I mean, I'm not really scared. You just have to be aware,
Yeah.
and you just don't sit in a space that you can't see your whole surroundings. Mostly I like to stand
Yeah.
because I have a view of everything. And that's
Okay.
just how I've always rolled in life. I like to be aware of my whole surroundings. I want to see all of it.
So what does that mean though when you're in the subway? Where would you sit then? I mean, if it's
So, depending on the compartment,
yeah,
either depends on where it lands where we're on the platform. On the
yeah,
platform, I stand behind a pole or behind like against the wall until it comes.
okay,
Because you've heard horror stories of people being pushed. That ain't going to happen to me or my family. So, I'm very aware of it.
okay,
And this is where we're going to be. And we're going to be where it's well lit. Going to a different subway station that's more lit, that's where we're going. And more populated, that's where we're going.
okay,
Then, as far as the first time we went to New York, I was aware of a situation that my family wasn't, and they started to sit down, and I said, absolutely not. When you notice that there's one person and there's lots of seats and it's a busy subway and no one is sitting by that person, key in to that detail of why. So I keyed in right away because as a woman, we just pay attention to those things. And I said, absolutely not. Keep moving. And they're like, why? And I'm like, let me explain this to you later. And I explained it to them later. They're like, oh, okay.
So
Like,
yeah,
street smarts are important.
yeah, be aware.
Making sure that, if you're standing against a wall
Okay.
where your back is not to people, or you're sitting against a window, but where you can see everything.
Oh, okay, okay,
You just want to plant yourself in a situation. You know how sometimes there's rows?
okay, yeah,
You want to make sure you're either in the very back or in the front or in the middle, but you're like able to sit in a position where you're against a wall or a window
okay,
and you can see your environment. You can see what's going on and you know where the exit is. Or if you're standing, you stand by an exit.
okay. Because in the
Or close
subway,
to
all of the seats are against the windows.
They're usually against the windows. And on the train is a little different. The train, just making sure that you sit, you know, where you're close to the exit, you can kind of see, you can kind of see everything, and there are spots available that you can see.
And I have heard this before that if there's a predator or somebody who's trying to do something to another person, they are less likely to do it to somebody who is looking around, scanning, making eye contact with other people, who has that.
Correct.
They're less likely to commit a crime against somebody who has that sort of situational awareness. They're making eye contact with people around them. Their heads are on swivel. They're scanning their area. and in your case, kind of positioning themselves in a safest place and also making note of where the exit signs or exit and entrances are.
Correct. Don't be on your phone. Don't have your AirPods in. Be very aware that you can hear, see everything that's going on in your environment, especially when you're traveling with children and as
Yeah.
a woman.
And hands free, right? You don't want to be
Hands free.
loaded with.
That's why I wear a backpack purse. And I don't make it too fancy. I don't, I have, or a waist wallet's a really good one that you can kind of hide and you can zip up a jacket. No one's even going to know it's there. Just making sure that you're not going to be a victim of something unfortunate,
Okay.
doing everything preventative that you can do to make sure that you're keeping yourself aware and safe.
Yeah, because most of us are on our phones because we're trying to look at the map and trying to figure out where we're going next. So already have that route and that schedule already in your mind, so you're not
Correct.
preoccupied with the phone, and you can actually have that situational awareness and be very conscious of what's going on around you. Super important.
Exactly. And I will say on a subway, you kind of want to know where the emergency buttons are because the conductor is not available to you. And there's cool
Yeah.
things for emergencies,
I never
but
noticed.
it feels very vulnerable. Once I get seated, I like having my phone in my pocket where I can push my little, like, how iPhones and Androids have like an emergency contact situation where you can call 911. I kind of like having that access. If I need to push that or text 911, I can real quick and then, get the help. And just making sure that you're not isolating yourself as a family in a compartment where there's no one else because people get on and off and you want to have other people as witnesses and you keep safer in a group than you do by yourself.
And so, what about other people in your group though? Everybody sort of has to be on board and are also looking around, and you're making eye contact with each other, and all of that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Like as the kids get older, my son lives in New York, so he's very aware. And my daughter, yeah, she's very aware. We didn't go to New York when they were little. We would have had definitely stricter measures. Like kid would have been in front of me. They would have been sitting on my lap if they were little. And I would have been very aware. You take the precautions and you just make sure that you dress simply, nothing too flashy. Don't wear a bunch of jewelry that's super flashy unless you're taking a taxi to and from somewhere. But yeah, those are just safety things that you can do to be safe. You don't, God forbid something should happen.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think covered safety on transportation.
Reading, for me also, another thing on safety, when you've never been somewhere, we have internet where we can research things to be aware of, travel advice on things to be like warning, there's pickpocketers in this area, just something that you're aware of because they often do it in groups. It's not just one individual, it's obviously a group thing. And so just being aware of keeping your group tight knit, keeping your flashy jewelry, all that thing away, keeping, like for me, my ring, I'll turn it around so it's just a band. And then little things that I do. I don't wear a ton of jewelry. I keep my purse kind of hidden. And I give my important stuff to my husband and he puts it in his waist wallet. That's how we navigate. And so just being aware of also when you're traveling like you're traveling to Italy for the first time, being aware of the things that locals are telling you to be wary of.
Yeah, because I don't even know if you can call. Obviously, can you call 911 there? What do you call if you have an emergency?
That's a good thing for you to research because obviously it's not 911. It's going to
Right.
be something else. Yeah, different number. So just knowing what that is and maybe pre-programming it into your phone. And also remember when you travel, you're going to have a different phone plan. It's not going
Yeah.
to be in a different like outlets and things. So don't forget the special adapters that you have to have when you're traveling to other countries and making sure you purchase that ahead of time because it's going to be so much cheaper because
Yeah.
if you're going to purchase it at the airport, it's going to be twice as expensive.
Right, because you want to have everything charged up so that you are with a communication device.
Your battery pack is important.
Exactly. So,
And I think the laws are, I think you can still carry that on your person when you're traveling. You just can't put it in your suitcase.
mhm,
But that extra battery pack, especially when you're exploring a city, you're going to be out all day. You need that to charge your cell phones. There's not always available outlets.
mhm, right.
Yeah, just little travel hacks to keep yourself safe.
So we talked about safety because that's really important, and I'm glad we addressed it. So now, what about you're in your case you're going to be there for 5 days. In my case, I'm going to be there for 7 days. So then what's your next move in terms of planning?
So, figuring out, since we're coming there to see my sons play, figuring out our free days
Mm-hmm.
and then his free day. His free day happens to be Monday. Maybe that's the day that we can go on set. We know that we have to contact our friend who's on the SVU set to see if we can get us on that day, or maybe my son can't come and we have to do a different day.
Mm-hmm.
So, having some flexibility with that, and then not making too many planned reservations on like restaurants. We have places that don't require reservations. We've called ahead and asked, and so we know that. We know that we want to go to some plays, so we're probably going to have to get up super early so that we could get the best deals on Broadway plays. And so then we will make sure we get those secured. And then there's a couple other things that, like coffee shops and things like that, having that kind of, we sort of talk about like, hey, where do you want to go get coffee in the morning? And that's kind of where we start off,
Okay.
like getting some coffee to wake up. I happen to know that on one of the piers they have some swings, so I thought it would be fun and romantic to go watch the sunrise and have our coffee and then try to secure our Broadway tickets. So that's one of our itineraries. And then there is a Halloween event where you can go, I think it's in Queens. You can go to one of the gardens that is in Queens, and it's a Nightmare Before Christmas themed garden walk. And so if we have time to do that, we'll secure that either like a Friday night or Saturday night. We're going to go to the Saturday play, and we're trying to go to a Sunday play with my son. And one's like at 2 o'clock and one's at 3. And we know that there's some places in his college town, restaurants that we want to go to. And so leaving that a little open, but with the possibility of going to Queens that day.
So, but how are you curating, or how are you determining where you're going? Like which restaurants, which coffee shops? Is it Reddit that you're looking for?
Oh, well, for me, I'm curating just ideas.
Yeah.
I'm putting it in a saved, like under New York bakeries, New York coffee shops, New York dinner, a little section sorted out like that. I know the coffee shops that we like to go to, but we might be open to trying something new. So if we're up to trying something new, I can go, here's my list. Where do we want to go? And then we'll go based off of the list.
Okay.
But the ones that we know, we just go to. And then if as far as dinners, we have a list, and whatever we're kind of filling that day, we will look it up and see if we can get in. We know that we're doing Malaysian food on the Thursday that we get in. My son and his girlfriend are going to meet us. We know that we're doing a tiki bar in Brooklyn on Monday. I think they open at 5, so we're doing that. Above and beyond that, we haven't made reservations anywhere because we've been so often. We are kind of keeping it open. We have an idea of some places, like sandwich places that we want to go to, and I don't think most of them require reservations. And then the one in my son's college town on Long Island doesn't require reservations. A lot of the stuff that we're going to, we can just pop in. I just have it curated on a TikTok, Instagram. I have it, you can save it, and I kind of have it arranged that way
So you
after researching.
Okay,
Yeah.
so after your research, you kind of have a list of and you've kind of categorized them and you save them on your phone. So on any given day, you'll just have a few choices that you can choose from. And because these are curated places that aren't as touristy, you probably won't have
Right.
super long lines and might not need a
Exactly.
reservation, likely.
Right. All the tourists don't typically go there. They're going to Times Square. They're going to like the really touristy things, whereas there is a pizza place that I love that's in Greenwich that I don't think you have to have reservations. And now that COVID's kind of over, it's not as like strict. So I think you can just pop in. So we might go do that. And then there's a seafood restaurant in Long Island that we love that's near my son's school. Then Lost Tacos, because everybody's talked about it
Yeah,
and we've
yeah,
never eaten there. It's a touristy thing that we probably will do,
yeah. I think,
because people have talked about it enough where we're like, okay, let me try
yeah,
these.
just try one taco.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of, above and beyond that, we'll probably go into Brooklyn because that's one of our favorite places to go. And then there's a couple of restaurants I have listed that I know that they're solid and good. That's what I do. If you're a reservations kind of person, you're going to want to research and then get those reserved. Great food itineraries. It's never any place that you have to necessarily have reservations because it's kind of like, what are you in the mood for today? Well, this is what I want. Okay, and this is what I want. And then we all agree, and then I have this list, and then we go do it. Or if we happen to go buy somewhere that looks amazing, we go do that too. So there's flexibility.
Okay, so flexibility, and then everybody, it's basically a joint decision, right? I mean, whoever you're going with, okay, is this cool, right?
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's nice to
So
do.
everybody kind of it feels
Has a
invested.
say.
Yeah, and they feel invested in the trip. When I go to Italy, my sister and I are traveling with my mom. We are making the decisions on where to go. I mean, it's our first time, so we're gonna be doing the tourist tour, basically.
So what I've heard about Italy
Yeah.
is that you don't want to get stuck at the touristy trap restaurants because they overcharge. And so there's a way to research places that are not the tourist traps that overcharge and then make reservations there. Now, do I know what those are? No, because I haven't researched it, but there's a way to like research it and find out.
Okay.
So I would advise doing that so you don't get like caught up being overcharged and in food that's not so great.
I know, right? Um, yeah, I need to look into that. I mean, right now we're just kind of determining booking our. We've already booked our flights and we've booked our lodging, and now we're trying to like. For us, we need to have a schedule. We have to like have a pretty strict schedule
Yeah, that makes
because it's our
sense.
first time, and we want to see certain things, and so we have to fit that into each day that we're visiting Florence and Rome. So during the touristy attractions, but then we're doing a pasta making class.
Oh, how
I
fun.
know, it's so cute. It was like pasta and tiramisu, and then the other one was making pizza. So pizza, and then it was a dessert. So we're doing a couple of cooking classes, and then I always like to do a food tour whenever I go somewhere, because I'm not the best at curating a list of restaurants. So it's just nice to hear from a local person and just go around and have bites of food that
Sure.
the locals find is really good. And what else are we doing? Food tour. And then I usually like doing a walking tour too, just to get the lay of the land, you know?
Totally makes sense in Italy because everything is so has to be reserved, especially in Rome with the Vatican and stuff like that. So yeah, having those things reserved where they already you pay and they kind of take you around, especially if you've never seen it anyway.
I know.
Yeah, I'd do it too.
Because like you're seeing works of art or you're seeing historical places, but if you don't have any context, unless you've done your research ahead of time, it's not going to be
Right.
very meaningful unless you have the context.
Right. And then also knowing that in some like churches you have to cover up. So just being aware that you're dressed appropriately, which, for some folks you just don't think about that sort of thing. And so yeah, you might not bring that sort of thing. And so then you've paid this money to do this tour and you can't even go in. So just being aware of all those little ins and outs if you haven't used a travel agent see to like curate the trip for you, being aware of all the requirements.
That's, yeah, important too. The one thing too is like also thinking about, because we're traveling with my mom who's older, so we need to keep that in mind too, because usually when I go somewhere new, I'm just totally busy. I'm busy. I have each day packed, and we need to work our breaks in. Maybe we go see something, and then we have a little break, and then do the evening activities, and then, or maybe between cities we have this one day where we're kind of relaxing. So the pace of kind of what we decide to do during our travels is something to keep in mind too, so that everybody doesn't feel too worn out.
That makes sense. Yeah, especially, yeah. I know for us, when we're traveling with my in laws, I definitely have to think about how much walking around, especially with them coming to New York for our son's graduation in May. Mother in law is from Bangor, Maine, and also because her dad was in the military, grew up in New York too. So she had never been into the city. So this is the first time, and they're not really like major city folks, but I really wanted her and my father in law to really see the city because at
Mm-hmm.
least once in your life you should.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're wanting us to, we would love to sit down with them and curate like some itinerary for them to kind of help navigate. Maybe they won't be taking the subway, maybe they will be taking taxis a little bit more and put them central to activities that they can easily walk to within a few blocks, kind of curating something that's more at their speed because our speed is completely different.
And that too, but then like, yes, if they're proximal to kind of where they're going to be going to, that's obviously super super convenient. So there's less walking involved. But then, are they going to be? Do they know how to navigate like using MapQuest or whatever to kind of or?
Barely. So we're
Okay.
going to have to help them.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
In the past, when we did Chicago, they were flying in. They were going to be landing around the same time, but we were going to land first. And they had never flown into O'Hare Airport. And so this is when my daughter graduated. So this was a big thing that we had to navigate because it's very confusing that you have to take there's like a train you have to take to the car rental place. It's not like right at the airport where you could just normally go out the doors and find the car rental. It's a little bit, you have to take a train to get to the car rentals. So
Mm-hmm.
helping them navigate and then getting them to the car, waiting for them to get to the car rental. So that, that was a learning lesson because we had plans to meet with our daughter. And my in laws were like, we just had to basically wait for them, have them, get their car rental. We had our car rental, show them how to get to the city that we were staying in, take them to their hotel, drop them off, and then go meet our daughter. So that's what we ended up doing. And that was a little bit of a mess, but not horrible. We kind of learned along the way. Sometimes you learn these things. But on Disneyland, where we all drove, we were going a few days earlier. So we had a couple days with our children before they came. And then, here's what we plan. And then having to navigate, we like to pretty much run around all day.
Yeah.
And we will hang out with you a certain time. Then we're going to have some immediate family time. And so maybe you guys can go do something else during that time and we'll meet back up for dinner.
So they kind of need to curate their own trip to do the things that they enjoy doing, and then you kind of have to work, if you're meeting with other people outside of your group, you have to work them into your schedule, your itinerary.
You just do meetups, like meetups for dinner, meetups for lunch.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think that's how you have to do it. Like, so far, that's how we've done it. And we just would say these are the days that we're not available to go do something because we're spending it with our kids, or we've got something pre-planned that is a parent required thing, especially when your kid's graduating. You have to like help them clean out their dorm and, little things. I mean, if they're welcome to come help with that, but I don't, relax, just chill at the hotel. So we've kind of just had to navigate and redirect and reroute as situations come up. But yeah, the one in May is going to be, sitting down with them. Hey, do you want us to help you since we know New York? Do you want us to help you kind of figure out an itinerary that's appropriate for you? And if they do, cool, we'll help them figure out some things they might want to do. And then if they don't, then they'll just go discover it on their own. And then we will make sure that we set up an Uber for them from the airport to their hotel, and then help them to navigate the Long Island Railroad. When we go to our son's graduation, we'll have to rent like a Uber to fit us all in. So having those little pre-planned things out, or maybe we'll rent a car for that day. That way they can kind of see around Long Island too. They're planning a bigger trip after that. They're planning on doing a road trip to go visit family on the East Coast. So they at one time mentioned driving a car into Manhattan, and we were like, nope, absolutely not. It's not safe. What I'm going to recommend to them is taking the train into the city that they want to be in and rent a car then. It's going to be cheaper, and you'll get to see New York on a train. That'll be more relaxing for you and cheaper. So that's kind of, if they're up for that, what we're suggesting for them. We've made it a really good point of like not driving into New York. It's not safe, or getting a car rental in New York. It's not like any other city. It's not safe to do that.
Yeah.
So we shall see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's always a learning adventure because people sometimes are set in their ways and they have their own agenda, which is fine too, but
Yeah.
then there's always repercussions
Yeah.
when you don't take advice.
Yeah. I I am also kind of thinking about just the going back to the pace of how I'm trying to plan out my trip. You know, it's great to do everything because you never know whether you'll be back.
Right.
But looking back, the trips that I really remember and I have good memories of are the trips that I kind of take my time and I really am present and I'm not super rushed. I'm just trying to say, like, if you try to rush around to see everything, you'll find that nothing was really special.
Right. You're exhausted.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to, like, I kind of want to see everything too, but I
Hmm.
also realistically know that I have to have a little bit of recharge because my battery will run low. So I have to have some freedom where I can just put my feet up for a minute. And my family knows this because they are diehard Disney fans. And so whenever they've gone, I've like worked three in a row where I had to be up super early in the morning,
Hmm.
and they wanted me to stay at Disneyland from 6 a.m. until midnight, and I was dying.
Hmm.
I was like, this mama needs a little nap. In fact, at one point I fell asleep and they went on to this Tom Sawyer Island, I think is what it was called. And I'm all napping, and I wake up and people are kind of looking at me.
Uh-oh.
I just couldn't stay awake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, for one, I need one of those. I need the resort hotel where I can go take a nap, or I need to, like, get some coffee in me. So little things like that where you're trying to, you have to have give and take and realize that people's capabilities aren't going to be the same as everybody else's. And so
Hmm.
just to honor that and to have those down times, no matter, like, if it were just you and your sister, you could rush around. You guys have the energy to do that, but your mom might not. So
Hmm.
just honoring where you might have a day or like a moment in the day that
Hmm.
is a little slower, where you can put your feet up a little bit and
Hmm.
just rest up a little bit and recharge.
Okay. Yes, definitely need to do that. What about pictures? Now, there may be many instances where it's just you and your husband. So, have you thought about how you're going to do like selfie pictures?
Oh, I have. And
Okay.
I know this is, my son would say this is very old person behavior. I got a little selfie stick
Yeah.
that has like a little remote because
Okay.
honestly, Matt and I need that when we're like, I feel like I want to capture some good photos. We just don't do very good selfies.
Yeah.
My son, when he's with us, he can take really good pictures of all of us. He's taller for one,
Hmm.
but I'm just going to use that where it's not necessarily out, it's like we have it, we can pull it out, it fits in my purse. It's a selfie stick with a little remote button to take pictures.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, little tools like that that you might find helpful, but I think you can use your hands too. Especially when you're making moments and you're, making memories and having moments with your mom and sister, and
Hmm.
you're going to definitely want pictures to look back at.
Yeah. I think I need to look into that and figure out how I'm going to do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I need it. I think it'll just give you better quality pictures, and you're like, and you can
Our
cushion yourself a little nicer.
Okay, and all of our arms are we don't have
I've
long,
got short arms.
yes, we
I've
don't
got
have
short
long
arms.
wingspan, so we
I
need
don't
the selfie
either.
stick. Um,
And I don't really want a double chin showing if I can help it. It's like, oh, it looks flattering.
I know, right? So if you kind of position the camera sort of
Heck
above
yeah.
you, yeah, looking down.
Heck yeah, man.
What about like I remember when I went to Korea, I always had like, or I found it useful to have like a little wet wipes, like a little package
Oh,
of
yeah.
wet wipes. I know you carry sanitizing solution.
Oh, for sure.
And then also like some dry, like little Kleenexes too. Like you don't know if you go into a bathroom and there's no toilet paper.
This is so true. Those are the two things that I carry, Clorox wipes, and I pack
Okay.
them.
For your
And then
hand,
I
for your
carry
hands, what about?
No, no,
Okay.
for hotels, to wipe down hotels. I don't care. I've stayed at so
Oh,
many hotels, nice ones,
uh-huh.
not so nice ones, and I still wipe it down. The
Okay.
remotes, the
So
phones,
like
all of it.
a little packet in a Ziploc bag of Clorox wipes so that you can go into your hotel
Yeah,
and then wipe things down before you use.
right. They
Okay.
have travel size.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I personally, the sanitizer, I carry a lavender based one because lavender, like, especially if you're traveling like in the summer, bugs don't like lavender or mint.
Mm-hmm.
So you can spray it on yourself as almost like a bug spray, and you can spray it around your table where you're not going to get like bees or ants
Mm-hmm.
around your table that you're sitting at if you're outdoors. And that has been a godsend this summer.
Oh,
And I
okay.
just got that at like the Whole Foods or New Seasons, whatever local market that carries that kind of natural spray that has, or you can make your own. It just seems to work and it's natural. And it's no more than 3 ounces, so you can most certainly pack it in your backpack or purse. And then I carry the Kleenex, like you said, the little kids, like, little tiny packet size of like a Kleenex. Because, like you said, yeah, you never know. You, we've been in. I've used hand sanitizer when there was no choice but to use a porta potty, and I've used hand sanitizer and toilet tissue to like clean up, and then do what I had to do. Because those environments aren't always the cleanest.
Yeah.
And when you're out and about, also the fun thing is there's there might be apps all over the place, but I know for New York especially, there's bathroom app that you can follow, like where you can go to the bathroom when you're out and about in the city.
That's
And
awesome.
my number one recommendation is Bryant Park. It is a public restroom that's very bougie that I think I told you about
You
that you got
did.
to experience.
Yes, I did.
And so we'll take my in-laws there because you've got to experience at least once in your life. It's just really cool. They have a meter. They have like a person there that escorts you to your bathroom. They have music playing, they have fresh flowers. There's a line that starts, and then they have like a button they push, and the toilet seat cover covers it's very clean and very nice public restroom. Highly recommend.
And then if you need to do something, there's, I
Other places.
there, yeah, if you need to do some bigger work, then there is the library, I think, behind, right, that you can go to.
Right. Exactly. If you know where you need to go. Exactly. It's important stuff, man.
I was just because I don't think they're going to appreciate it if you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have a thing about doing that in public places. I
Some
don't
people
mind going
do.
pee if I have to, but I want privacy for the other one. It's like unless it's like an emergency, I'm like I don't know of you, but I use the technique where if I have to do that, I flush and then do what I have to do, and I carry like a little poopery sample with me. I'm like, no,
Okay.
I got to do that.
Okay, so what else are you carrying with you? You have the lavender spray,
I have
right?
the lavender spray.
Uh-huh.
I have like a little thing of poopery.
Okay.
I have the Kleenex.
Yep.
I have the Clorox wipes that I don't necessarily carry in my purse. Sometimes I'll carry wipes. Like when I
Yeah.
get to the
Wet
place, I'll
wipes.
buy some wipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have those. There's little packets you can buy. I'll also buy the little like glass cleaners. Little packets of glass cleaner, like if you're wearing sunglasses or for your
Oh,
cell phones to wipe down, because sometimes they get really gross and dirty. And if you're trying to take pictures, you don't really want smudges on your
yeah.
camera phone. So little things like that are easy to put in a purse in a Ziploc baggie.
Okay. I also like it's not like a lanyard for your neck, but I use it as a crossbody. It kind of looks like a lanyard, but it's for your cell phone.
Oh yeah, that's good. I've seen people carry that.
Yeah, because when you're taking a lot of pictures, you don't want to have to pull out your cell phone like all the time. So if
Right.
it's attached, at least you won't drop it onto the ground.
Right. And you can, like, if you're in an area where you're worried about your phone being taken, you can kind of put it down your top and zip up.
Yeah, yeah. I find that really helpful, especially if
That's
you're
a good
moving
idea.
around and walking a lot. It's super
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, that's so good. These were some really good, tips and, fun things that we do to navigate. And if you guys like what we're all about, please join us next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Just so you know, this is for entertainment purposes only. We are speaking from our lived experiences and are not licensed therapists. We are all about community. Join our community by following and subscribing to Be On It through YouTube, Instagram, and of course your podcasting platform so we can continue to bring Be On It to you.